Very forthright, very frustrated, very angry. Gavin, what was the feeling in the province since then?
I think he certainly endeared himself to a lot of fans that comes through Dexcom on a weekly basis. Certainly, I think the passion, the rawness of his comments showed how much he cares in terms of winning and losing in a green shirt of Connacht as well, which, again, a lot of people, you don't hear that too often from professional sports people. You know, they don't wear their heart in their sleeve. So I think a lot of people kind of sat up and took notice of that. But I think he arguably went across the line. Now, what he said isn't out of kilter with what we hear most weekends in terms of teams saying, oh, decisions didn't go our way, etc., etc. But it was the manner in which he said it. I think referees are in a thankless position. I think the TMO situation is not helping them. There's a lot of uncertainty as to when a TMO should step in, shouldn't step in, and that's leading to a lot of frustration. And if Mack's comments ultimately force the decision makers to sit in a room, to thrash it out and say, right, how do we become better at it? How do we get to a better process? Well, then that's not a bad situation to be in either. But yeah, look, I think he's a cult here in the province, and that hasn't changed certainly from last weekend.
Was he right though, Darren? Are Connacht hard done by referees?
I'm not sure. I think if you asked every coach, they would say they're particularly hard done by, and you know, I'm inclined to agree with most of what Gav says. In fairness, I'll try and keep it succinct because I feel like we could talk about this for half an hour. But I think on the positive sort of side, there's a guy who really cares about playing for Connacht and really wins. That's a big positive. Transitioning to the media, for me, the frustration and the lack of personalities and the lack of emotion that we get in player interviews, it's nice to see that. On the other side of it, some of the officiating is poor in the URC, but some of the play is poor at times. Imagine how ridiculous it would be if the referees came out and said, well, that was a dreadful game, the handling errors. And I think there's a lot of pub chat around rugby in the moment, complaining about officials, and I don't like that. And I think as players, as coaches, as pundits, we have a responsibility to talk about the winning and losing of the games. And ultimately, you lost to Leinster because you conceded twice incredibly softly off first phase, not because of the officiating. So I kind of see it from both sides.
What did you make of the comments, Eddie? Do you think there's an issue with refereeing in the URC?
Well, there are issues now because we see everything, and we see it in slow-mo and we see it in replay. So it's come under focus. But I do think he was right about the clean-out that started the whole conversation by Bowden Barrett. For me, it was a yellow card, borderline red. It should have been checked and it wasn't. That's very frustrating because Connacht had been checked earlier. So you could see where he's come from. I thought they got some bad calls in the game. So I could see his frustration, but I think he was wrong to extrapolate that into that everyone's against us in Connacht, you know. I think that probably crossed the line. Again, even that frustration, you've got to contain it. You can't have guys after every game giving out about the referees and making a big fuss. Where does that end? So I think he's in for a suspension at this stage. Something's going to have to be done. They can't let this slide. But I guess I understand his passion, but I think, you know, he could have been a bit more sensible about it. It was a fairly raucous response. I agree with what he said, ironically, but I don't think it's the way to do it.